What a day! And I'm back again! I'm gonna go insane doing this, but it's all good. What am I here for if not to be abused? Anyway, right, where was I? Now then, yeah, I was going to go into the differences between Solomon Kane and Savage Worlds. As I say, the main difference between the two is the magic system. Now, Solomon Kane is very, very true to, I'm going to flash this again, the source material. Which is why you should read this. Anyway, but no, Magic in Solomon Kane, unlike a lot of other systems, I find this very refreshing. Magic in Solomon Kane is not about waving your hands and sending a magic missile to up your enemy's arse to thwart him. No, Solomon Kane, the Magic in Solomon Kane is much more subtle. It is a powerful natural force, not to be reckoned with. Well, yes, not to be reckoned with, to be treated with care. And Solomon Kane does this differently. You see, in Savage Worlds, I'm going to be swapping books around like a lunatic. The magic system is PowerPoint based. This means that unlike something like Dungeons & Dragons, which I'm sure most people are going to be most familiar with, you see, in Dungeons & Dragons, the wizards and spellcasters, basically every single morning when they wake up, either through prayer to their divinity, to their divine patron, that's better, or through meditation with spellbooks and whatnot, they dictate that they are going to be able to cast today a pure random 3 fireballs, a spell of invisibility, 2 spells of sanctuary, yada 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 yada, and yeah, which I personally is great because if you know what's going to hit you in D&D, that's fine. However, in Savage Worlds, and we're not talking about Solomon Kane now, we're talking about Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds uses a PowerPoint system. Now, all the spells you'll find in this book are very simple. If you're used to D&D, you'll initially look at this book and you'll think, where the hell is everything? Essentially, you get a spell called Bolt, which is a general spell that you hurl at enemies like a magical bolt. You get a spell called Armor. You get a spell imaginatively called Stat Buff Debuff. I mean, no, it's like when you first look at it, you think, well, quite frankly, that is like the most shit generic list of spells I've ever seen. However, that's when trappings comes into play, and this does hold some relevance to Solomon Kane. You see, you have a certain power pool, and each spell, say Bolt, for instance, every time you cast it, it will cost 3 power points to cast. Now then, Deadlands has got a very unique use for this system. But in Standard, you spend the number of power points, you make a spellcraft check, essentially, which is based off your spirit attribute, and at this point, you cast the spell. And you subtract the power points from your pool, and every half hour you get a power point back. Enough said. However, the trapping system makes its difference. For instance, you cast an armor spell. Now, how does that armor manifest? Does that armor manifest in a blazing, fiery aura around your body? Do your ribs sort of expand and then sort of burst through your flesh and to give you an armor of bone? Do your scaly lizard man body scale things turn into adamantine and harden and whatnot? But you see, the trappings thing means that yes, all 3 of those are armor. But flame armor. Okay, it acts like standard armor. Fist attacks that come against you, oh shit, that hurts. It might not armor you against bullets and arrows. It will completely armor you against a fire attack. However, cold and ice attacks may do a little bit more damage. You see what I'm getting at? So the point is that even though the spell list is generic, it gives you the pure, absolute power to work with your games master and just go and say, well, I'm using deflection, I'm going to have it manifest as a gust of wind, so I know I can't, dislodge that cannon blast, but I can deflect bullets and arrows, and maybe even use the spell for other tasks, like to blow out a flame or something, and you're completely entitled to customize the ability as you wish. That's awesome. It's up to you. Like I said, the Bolt spell, in a fantasy setting, it could be 3 will-o-wisp type yellow balls of energy that you hurl towards your target, magic missile. And another one, well, I summon a swarm of killer ants to eat your face off. Equally awesome. But, right, Solomon Kane, however, is different, and this is where it is different. And this ties into the mythos, which I'm going to go into in the second half of this video, if I've left myself enough time. Basically, the Magic of Solomon Kane, you're not going to find outward offensive spells in it. It's mainly around necromancy and basically sorcerer's stuff of the time. Remember, it's 1570 to 1607 is where the campaign is basically set. So it's all very religious, and all magic is the powers of darkness manifest. So, it's not something that you want to go around and do out in the open, lest you be burnt at the stake or dunked or some shite. But instead of having a power pool system, basically, this one allows you to cast spells whenever the hell you want. With casting modifiers. So, for instance, the bolt spell itself is a -3 casting modifier. Now, for each round of combat, I spend doing my hocus pocus, doing a little rain dance or whatever. I -1 from the casting modifier. So, in this way, you can cast a spell unprepared if you're very lucky, or you can take time preparing the spell and the bolt spell was actually a very bad thing because there isn't actually a bolt spell, but you catch my drift. Like I said, so in other words, it's like a ritualistic thing, but it's very, very powerful. However, the negatives for failing this and having what's called a magical backlash are rather severe. So there's a huge risk-reward system. Now, where this comes in is, as I mentioned in my previous video, Robert E. Howard was a huge fan of Lovecraft, who wrote the Cthulhu series. Basically, he created the mythos and everything to do with these ancient, terrible beings who are so alien to us we just simply cannot communicate or understand their intentions, and they're immensely powerful, and they've been slumbering for a long, long time, waking up, whatever. And generally, Cthulhu is about stopping these beings from awakening. Now, as I said, they're big powers, so you will actually find in this book Solomon Kane, despite the fact that it is a very good representation of 16th century / 17th century England, Europe, the world, because this is globe-trotting, Cthulhu ventures into this, not as a namesake, but the actual whole idea of Cthulhu, and it even makes reference to ancient beings who are in slumber, who are slowly beginning to awaken, right? And the Grand Campaign, I'm not trying to give too much away here, but the Grand Campaign talks about these people of maybe a heroic heritage who have been touched by Solomon Kane, and there's a reason why this all happens, and then they encounter dreams of Solomon Kane's friend, believe it or not, this great African juju man called Enlonga, and he basically sparks in them this terrific wanderlust, because these ancient beings are awakening, and as awesome as Solomon Kane is, he needs help. So this takes our intrepid band of adventurers in this story arc to the 5 corners of the globe in search of artifacts, i.e. all 5 continents, a huge leeway with the story here, and to actually find these sacred artifacts, take them to a certain place, which I won't spout because it's actually quite a huge thing, and stop the ancient being from awakening. Now, there is a thing in Cthulhu where they said, you might think there is like a fright system. No, it's not the same as Cthulhu where you get you get sanity, because as somebody else said, I can't remember quite where this comes from, but because people in this day and age actually believe in witches and witchcraft and whatnot, they might have a heart attack if they see some lumbering, frothing, unholy beast, but they don't go insane because they expect this kind of shit to happen to them on a day-to-day basis. So, but a lot of people might say, oh, it's not Cthulhu because it's not got the sanity, but in actual fact, this is about as Cthulhu as you're going to get, in maybe a more subtle way, but it's because the beasts are only just awakening, the planet is being corrupted, yes, but not in an outwardly Cthulhu way, and you can really play on your players with this. I don't know why I've just got into such a huge conversation. Basically, if you want to play Solomon Kane, and you want some really decent adventures, there are some one-shot sheets you can download for free off the Pinnacle Entertainment site. I'll probably put a link over somewhere for it, but there's actually also on the site you can download basically there's a link to say to download more products, and there's a PDF product called Solomon Kane Traveller's Tales. Now, as I said, read this for inspiration, because the campaign in the book does indeed go down the path of Kane, and what is quite awesome is you do indeed encounter all the locations, albeit Kane has already passed through, you encounter all the locations that he encounters. So if you've got other fans of Solomon Kane, that's quite epic, because you can actually lead them down his path anyway. And there's room for any adventure you can think of, Aztec priests sacrificing children to the dark gods, whatever. like I said, Traveller's Tales of Solomon Kane, even if you just want some random adventures that aren't necessarily interlinked in any God knows way, right? Because one takes place in England, one takes place in Germany, and the other one takes place in the East, the Orient, somewhere. I haven't actually read that one yet. We did the second one last night. I'm not going to go into them because it spoils it completely if you're ever going to play this as a player, because they are awesome. Needless to say, it takes basically all the folklore you ever knew and loved. It takes that and twists it, and it's Solomon Kane all over, and that's what you play with, because these are all myths that, you know, from the Traveller's Tales actually are true. Well, not true, but they've been around for a long, long time, and you'll instantly be able to identify with what's actually going on. It uses landmarks from the real world, everything. It's something I personally can really identify with, which is why I bang on about it. And quite frankly, last night when I did the second adventure with my troop, we had the best role-playing time we've had in an age, which is awesome. Now, I'm going to have to cut this short right now, because I've run over. Now, I'm going to go into one last video of some of the other stuff I've picked up that I've not played yet, and a little bit more, but I'll catch you then.